Going live.
Beautiful. And we are recording. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Elevate Together. I am so excited to introduce Kelsey Greenwood and Gonzalo Dieguez, both incredible influencers in their right and in their spaces. So excited to hear this interview today. It's going to be an exciting one. So I'm going to hand it over to Gonzalo, who is the owner of GNAPS, as well as a serial entrepreneur and many other endeavors. But I'm excited to hear from you both today. So welcome to the call.
Thank you so much for the introduction, babe. Thank you. Hi, Kelsey.
Thank you. Hello.
So excited to have you on today. So guys, I met Kelsey through social media, and I really love her organic and pure-hearted content. And I really felt like what she shared is so valuable and in alignment with the Elevate's mission. So I'm so happy to share with her, to share with you guys here today. So Kelsey, let's start about talking about yourself. Just a quick intro. Tell us about your passion to elevate others.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. So I am Kelsey. I am an integrative life coach and have been on this healing journey for the last, 4 or 5 years now. I also have a podcast called Hi, I'm Human, and it's essentially a way of blending, this very earthly experience and also our divine connection and spirituality, and merging the two, and just remembering that it's okay to be human and it's okay to be messy, and that we're all just doing the best that we can.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And why do you choose this passion? What led you to this path?
Yes. Oh, goodness. So years ago, I found myself struggling with a number of physical ailments, physical symptoms, chronic digestive issues, massive fatigue, brain fog, and it just kept compounding. And after 6 years of struggling with this, I was like, I've had enough. I had tried doctors, I had tried procedures, supplements, diets, and then I eventually started making my way into more of like the holistic world of acupuncture and eating foods, more whole foods, and cutting out gluten and dairy. And I was still being met with resistance. And simultaneously, I was also experiencing major burnout in my work-life balance. I had very little work-life balance in my early 20s, soon after graduating from college. And so it's no coincidence all these physical ailments started showing up. And I was pushed to learn about boundaries, which I know we're talking about today, boundaries and communication, and really slow down in my life and really go within. And after trying all of these things to solve my very physical ailments, I learned about inner child healing and reparenting, and essentially learned to process my emotions, and learned that suppressed emotions in the body can be the cause of physical symptoms, headaches, brain fog, digestive issues, aches and pains randomly in the body. And it just catapulted me into this journey of, once I was able to heal my body from the inside out, I was like, I have to share this with the world, because, it's at our fingertips, and we spend so much money and so much time and energy trying to seek answers outside of ourselves, when the truth is it all resides from within.
That's awesome. And so what has been one of the greatest teachings or wisdom that you have gained from what you do?
One of the greatest teachings or wisdom, I would say the concept of the mind-body connection. And what I mean by that is that, we have the mind, which is, our beliefs and our thoughts that start all the way back in our childhood, and we collect, and they're deeply ingrained. Kind of like if you were to take a car and you were to drive it over a lawn, eventually the tracks of the car would become ingrained in the lawn, and the lawn would no longer be green. So that's kind of what happens with this conditioning and beliefs that we adopt throughout our life. And then the body connection being the heart and the emotions. And I think, so many of us aren't really taught culturally how to process our emotions. And we just think, when we're sad, like, you learn when you're younger, you fall off your bike and your parent comes over. It's like, it's okay. Stop crying. You're okay. And that's as early as we can learn to suppress our emotions. Whereas, you grow up and when you don't process your emotions, they don't really go anywhere. It's kind of like sweeping stuff under a rug in your living room, like the rug's just going to pile. And so the mind-body connection is really essentially just cohering the processing of your emotions and also your belief systems, and auditing and looking at these beliefs and these that, happen daily, tons and tons and tons of thoughts, and really just becoming the awareness of it all and coming back to the heart and learning compassion and self-acceptance and self-responsibility through all of that.
That's so epic. So can I ask you, how do you integrate the mind, the body, and the soul through these practices? Are you able to integrate those things? I know sometimes meditation is a great path, but also having mobility exercises too, it can help to release some stress that is retained in the body, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think everybody, finds different modalities helpful. But like you mentioned, meditation is a great modality. Something that was extremely powerful for me in the beginning of my journey, that is like my go-to still, even though I practice all different types of techniques, is journaling. And for me, journaling has been a way, when you put pen to paper there's something that happens in your brain that allows for you to slow down your thoughts just long enough to put it on paper and to see it. And when you can see it, you're not running from it, you're not avoiding it, you're not resisting it anymore. And for me, that's been a big practice to just really see how I'm actually feeling rather than just being in this go, hustle, grind of life. So journaling is really incredible. I know you mentioned like physical activity, movement is very powerful for me. Walks are very meditative, not bringing my phone, being out in nature. There's beautiful somatic practices, but journaling has been a really simple, easy, you can travel with a journal, you can have it anywhere. That's been really powerful for me.
That's great. That's great. It's any special journal is incredible. It's any special thing that you also recommend with diet and food habits? Because you mentioned that at the beginning. You encourage your clients to pay attention to what they eat and what food wise.
Yeah, especially with food, I know it can be a tricky subject. I mean, for me, I came from a background of struggling with chronic digestive issues. So for me, I was constantly trying different diets and, like I said, different physical activity. And I struggled with my relationship with food for a long time. And, because you try these different diets and it becomes very rigid. But really, my best advice is to just eat as close to the earth as possible and to eat foods that you like, so that it can become a lifestyle and also balance, right? Like you can allow yourself to go to a birthday celebration and have a piece of cake, but being aware of the creep in or the belief systems of like, oh, well, you shouldn't have that. And really of your self-talk more than anything, especially that word should. I have a friend who told me years ago, she said, don't should all over yourself. And it's always stuck with me. And it's so true. Our self-talk is so important. And so often we just go through life not realizing that chatter in our mind. We just let it run. But when you can catch it in the moment and then shift it into what's actually true, like ask yourself, well, how do I feel right now? And what's actually true about this situation?
Yeah.
And it's so simple. I think practices like that are so simple are often overlooked. But really can be extremely helpful, especially in the moment. So yeah, just to sum that up, I think eating as close to the earth as possible, but creating a sense of balance that works for you and your body, not looking at everybody else, but really just tuning in to your body and just saying, how do I feel after I eat this? How do I, feel when I think that thought, and how do I feel when I move my body in this way? And it gets to be intuitive. To slow down enough to tap into that intuition.
That's epic. And I know you mentioned about what you do practically is like bringing awareness, to life. And I know many times we get caught in this reality, we want to call it like that. And we ended up running the same program over and over. And part of that is like what advice you will give to people to come back to regain that awareness during the day, to not get lost in what in the habits that we have all the time.
Yes, I would advice that I would give is to ask yourself, what are you saying yes to that's actually a no? What are you saying yes to that is actually a no? I think for me, a big part of my journey has been learning to reclaim my power through using my voice and through setting healthy boundaries. And I found myself previously, when I was experiencing burnout and all of those physical symptoms, I was a people pleaser and I was a yes man and, didn't want to ruffle any feathers. And I think a lot of people can relate to that because we are kind of conditioned to believe like this is how you should act and like this is how you should be in society, and it shuts down your own power. It shuts down that authentic part of you that actually wants to say no because you're having a bad day, or because you simply don't have time in your schedule, or maybe just because you need a nap and a break from engaging a project. So asking yourself, what are you saying yes to that's actually a no? I think it'd be really powerful, that awareness of where you're running on that programming, like you mentioned, in that autopilot.
Yeah, that's great. And actually what we are saying, the things that we are saying no, that is a yes, right? Too the things that we are like trying to procrastinate and say, this is I'm resistance. I don't want to talk with this person. Oh, I don't want to do this. And I don't know about why. You just like get out of the comfort zone too, and it helps your soul to practice these new levels of awareness and new levels of resistance.
Yes, you're so right. I love how you turn that too, because it goes both ways, depending on, which end of the spectrum you're kind of ruminating on and spending a little more time maybe than you need to be, whether it's burning yourself out or just really not being in full alignment with yourself and actually showing up in the way that you want to show up in the world.
Yeah, that's so true. Talking about the world, if our path were not crossed again, what words of wisdom will you share with our community?
I would share this saying that I cannot remember where I heard it. I think it may have been pieced together from a few different sources, but this is something that has stuck with me since the beginning of my journey, and it is: the only way out is through. And I think, oftentimes when life feels crazy and circumstances are happening that are beyond us, and, I think we kind of want to cut corners or just try and take the easy way out, or, the path to resistance, which is possible, but I think the only way out is through. It really means like you've got to look in the dark places and the places that you've kind of been avoiding, or like some people call it, shadow work, going into those places of, emotions, memories, past relationships, experiences that you haven't really processed, kind of the ones where you think about and you're like, nope, I don't really want to talk about that. And you kind of flinch. But that's how you alchemize that and turn those experiences into learning lessons and to fuel to come back into yourself and come back into wholeness and fuel your path into further alignment and ultimately just being more authentic to who you are.
That's epic. So do you believe that pain is out there just to help us to go through the process of our soul to growth?
Yes, beautifully said. And also with that, it's not, I think, on this path of healing and like this inner journey, inner work, whatever you want to call it, I think some people, I know I've gotten caught up in it feeling really dark and dreary. And I'm like, gosh, is this what this is? And the truth is there's ebbs and flows to life, right? But the path of healing, I feel like we're on one lifelong healing journey. And it's not all about the dark and dreary. Like we can go through dark and dreary seasons and actually be playful with it and find love in it and find truth in it and be in community, and it can be challenging for sure, but that's something, especially in this healing space, that I really don't love to get caught up in. Like it has to be hard and like you have to, you're having a bad day, go sit in the room, close the door and journal until all of your feelings are processed. Like no, that's not what this is about. Go spend some time in solitude, but a mantra that I live by: more play, more ease. And, it kind of goes hand in hand.
Want to share with us the mantra?
What?
You want to share with us the mantra?
more play, more ease. And it's really just about tapping into that inner child that we all have. And and not getting so lost in the mundane of life, and allowing us human and to be and to love the journey along the way. But yes, I think looking full circle to what you said earlier, I think, going into the pain really is what alchemizes that into freedom, into more personal freedom, and to more joy and love and ease in life.
Do you think that breath is an important technique to pass through that pain in an easier way, and let it go and heal it faster?
Absolutely. I think noticing your breath, if it's, most people, I would say, are breathing short breaths from their chest rather than deepening it into their belly. And I think your breath is always an indicator of how grounded you feel, how safe you feel. And the more that you can just come back into that awareness of, when you feel really stressed, or when you feel like you're burning out and work, or like this relationship just isn't working, come back to the breath. Like you said, come back to the body and just breathe. I have one of my favorite yoga instructors that's local. She always says during practice, enjoy your breath. Enjoy your breath. And that is always what we have to come back and center us. So yes,
why we always forget to breathe? Why we always going through a process or something? Why always the first thing we cut is the breathing? Why is that?
I know, because we're so distracted by all this cool human stuff in this earthly experience. I'm just like, but yes, always come back to the body. You're so right.
That's so nice. That's so good. I'm so grateful for you for being today here. And I want to ask everybody here, if you have any questions they want to share with us, and I want to ask Kelsey that we have her today. I will, this is amazing. I think we can open this in future conversations. We can open up much more. It's a lot of things that we need to learn about conscious healing. So here we have someone here. Christy Dryden is asking, Kelsey, how do you advise someone effectively communicates their boundaries if they are new, like something that once was okay, but doesn't feel okay? Yes.
Yeah, I love this question. I think I'll first preface by saying, I think boundaries, there can be kind of a misconception around them of that they're like barriers in relationships, and they're not. Boundaries are ultimately meant to create and deepen our intimacy with the other person, especially if it's a close relationship. And they can feel wobbly at first to use your voice and set a boundary with somebody who isn't used to that part of you, and you're probably not used to that part of you either. But I would say something that really helps me, like a really practical practice, is to first sit with myself. Like, if say there's a situation where me and person close to me is disagreeing, and we're just resisting each other, and there's fights, and it's cyclical. To first sit with myself, I would first sit with myself and get clear on, how do I feel? And what do I desire from this? Like, what do I want, or what do I need from this relationship or this situation to feel better, or to feel more harmony? And so recognizing your feelings, how do I feel, and what do I desire, want, or need? And when you get clear around that within yourself, I think it builds some confidence to then bring that clarity into a conversation. So it's almost like equipping yourself, not from a place of like, okay, well, now I know, and like, I'll know what to say, over them or anything. No, it's just really to equip yourself, because I find, especially with people who have a tendency to people please, I think a common coping mechanism is to dissociate. So for me, when I would initiate conversation or try and use my voice and speak up, if the conversation wasn't going as planned, I would like leave my body and lose all senses, and like have no idea what to say and feel really scattered. So yeah, I think first gaining clarity around, how do I feel, what do I need, and then bringing that into a conversation can be really helpful.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. Someone else? I want to ask you a question too. What do you feel like lately? I know you have a lot of experience with your clients. What do you feel like it's the most common, what people commons like lack in these times? They're lacking of. What do you think it is? Empathy, compassion?
That's a good question. So your question is, what do I feel like people are lacking most in this time?
Yes.
I would say compassion. And I think, we're so quick to give it to other people more than we give it to ourselves. But ultimately, I think that anything like your ability to give to others is a reflection of your ability to give to yourself sometimes. So like, you're not going to be able to give as much compassion to others unless you're giving that to yourself as well. And fun fact, compassion comes from the Latin root word pati, P-A-T-I, which means to suffer, and co means with. So compassion means to be with suffering. And that's all compassion is. It's not fixing, it's not changing. Compassion is just being with the person that's going through a very emotional experience. And so if we could just, instead of pushing the uncomfortable emotions away of anger, guilt, shame, sadness, whatever it is, and instead we can just say, this is allowed to be here, and just sit for, it might take a minute to just breathe with it. Again, coming back to the breath, but that is compassion, is just not resisting it, but just allowing it to take up space. And that will alchemize it and turn it into fuel later on a lot quicker than resisting, because that resistance creates persistence. And then you keep having headaches and you keep feeling stressed and, things keep spiraling. But really, if we can just sit with our emotions for just a few moments and allow that space, that is what I believe compassion is. And I think that the world would be a much more liberated place if we just learned how to be more compassionate with ourselves.
So good. Love that. Love that. Thank you for sharing that. Love it. So beautiful. I have someone else here, Gina, is asking, what would be a good way to be able to deal with people who you are starting to have to break away from? Changing your environment and the people you hang around with plays a huge part in growth. But sometimes this can be so tough when you have been around the same people for so long.
Totally, Jenna. Yeah. I think, well, we have this thing called, we have this reptilian brain, and our reptilian brain perceives anything unfamiliar as a threat. So even if it's good for us, like changing the people that we're surrounding ourselves with, if those people aren't super supportive to our holistic growth and healing and just who we are as people, our brain might initially detect it as like, this is a threat, don't leave these people, this is all you ever known. And then you hear those stories come online of, you're never going to meet anybody else, and like, you're alone forever, and witnessing those stories is really important and really powerful, because you can zoom out. Like, I always imagine myself zooming out of my body and witnessing myself from above to say, okay, like, kind of dissect, what are the stories that aren't true? And then what can I invite in that is true, But I think to come back to her question one more time, just to see how I can answer this more clearly, what would be a good way? People who you're starting to have to break away from. Changing your environment and the people you hang around with plays a huge part in growth, but sometimes this can be so tough when you have been around the same people for so long. The first thing I would do is ask yourself, what am I afraid of? I think going into the fear is a really, really, really helpful place to start, to just, again, the only way out is through. Go to the fear. And when you go to that fear, you start to see very clearly, what are the stories? Where did I learn this story? Is this true? Is it true? Or is this, something conditioned in me that I, observed in my parents growing up, or somebody told me when I was younger in school, or I learned from a teacher, or whatever, society. So I think first, just asking yourself, what am I afraid of? And then asking yourself, what's true about this, is a really helpful place to start, to empower you to be like, actually, this is good for me. Maybe these people aren't the most supportive in my life. So recognizing, what am I afraid of? And then reminding yourself of what is true can be really empowering to move through that with a lot more ease.
That's awesome. Always asking the questions, right?
Always.
Yeah, that's the questions. That was super helpful, she say. So thank you.
Good.
Thank you. I'm going to just talk about Elevate Community was created to ignite the hearts and spirits of all who desire growth and transformation. We don't sell anything here. We just want to share from our hearts value that we have learned. Each episode, we do highlight a product that we will love, within the company. And of course, we always recommend you to follow our guests and get to know them better. So you don't have to pay to be a part of the community. We just ask you to share our content with as many people as you believe it can be, a change for their life and can be encouraged. So if you want to join the community, you can text 305-602-5599, and you text Elevate, and you're going to start receiving these notifications when we are going live with some incredible souls like Kelsey today. So Kelsey, thank you so much. We are so incredibly grateful for you and can't wait to interview you again and learn more from your experience and knowledge.
Thank you. I enjoyed it so much. And you guys are really doing an incredible thing by creating this Elevate community. I absolutely love it.
And again, Kelsey, can you share with our people how they can find your content?
Definitely. So the best way to stay connected with me is by subscribing to my newsletter. I send out weekly newsletters. And if you go to my Instagram at Kelsey Greenwood on Instagram, Kelsey, green like the color, wood, and you could subscribe there. Or you could go listen to my podcast on Apple iTunes. It's called Hi, I'm Human. So those are two ways that you can stay connected to me.
That's awesome. All right, Elevate community. It was a great show. We will see you next time on Monday. Mark this on your calendar and join us live each week, Monday, Friday, and Wednesday too. So you don't miss the content. Thank you so much, Kelsey, for your time. We love you.
Thank you, Gonzalo. Much love.
Much love. Bye-bye.
Bye.